Mr. President, first of all, congratulations on the competition so far. It's been a really good spectacle. Can you tell us what you think about the competition, not the Champions Cup, as we know where the Champions Cup launch, but the Dakar Cup and the Manning Cup so far. What's your thoughts on the competition so far?
I think that we have learned a lot of lessons this season, a number of challenges this year. I don't know where to start, but obviously, I think the most obvious one to the public is the interruptions based on weather. Where we are now, I think that there is a little bit of concern because things are really going to be intensified over 2 weeks. If you look at it, for a team to win both the Champions Cup and the Manning or the Costa Cup, they'll be playing five really good games
In
over 2
weeks,
weeks. Over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks. So, what? Starting Saturday, going back to the 7th of December, which is what, 14 days.
Yeah.
They will have 5, and it's not going to be 5 games where they can relax, and it's 5 knockout games essentially. 5
Tough
knockout
games.
But guess what? I think that in a way it is also something positive because this is how you know who true champions are.
Yeah.
And this is you don't become a winner or a champion without facing adversity. I think that this will tell us the mettle of our youngsters. Some of these youngsters are going to be preparing for under 17 World Cup in a few months, and so this is also a dry run for them in terms of quality competition. So the weather has created that situation. We look at what has happened in terms of teams coming to the forefront and the closeness of the teams across the competitions. The fact that you don't have one particularly dominant team, apart from maybe one now. I think that is also a reflection of the changes that Issa has made over the last 3 to 4
Making
years
it more competitive.
in terms of trying to get a competition where we have a number of teams competing day in day out rather than a few teams at the end of the competition. So we have learned some lessons, and I think that there's a lot to build on going forward.
Or can you tell us any aspect of re-looking at some of the policies, or are you guys just more so probably input more policies on the one that we have at the present moment?
All right, so I think that in terms of rules, I don't think that there's much more that we will have to do. But I think that we now need to look at our operations and make sure that we address some of the concerns that have been raised by some persons, membership as well as non-members. Some of the concerns we think are unwarranted, but there's always merit in listening to what people have to say, and even if it's unwarranted, you have to find a way to address it to make sure that it does not reoccur. So I think that is basically where we want to focus over the next 8 months as we get back to next season. Because we have to start looking at next season already.
True.
Although we have not yet finished this one, we actually have a lot of work to do this year in preparation for 2025, and that is one of the things that we'll have to look at.
Some of the issues that pops up this year, would you say that, as I said, it's our preparation for next season? Or you think that some of these issues, even the dental incident, with referee such and such and referee striking, are you putting these things in consideration from now so that we can avoid these type of situations next year?
Definitely, and not just in terms of the reaction to referee decisions, but actually looking at the referees' availability. We started a program this year where we're trying to train at least 150 of our students to serve as referees, particularly in our junior competition. But eventually we hope that they will get the experience, not just in junior football this year, girls football in January, February, and hopefully we can get more of them matriculating into senior refereeing, because I think that part of the problem is that our youngsters themselves don't seem to fully understand the role of a referee, and the fact that you will get some referees will get some things wrong at some point in time. And the truth is, referee decision goes both ways. You're going to benefit today, and you're going to lose out on it tomorrow. That's if you play the sport long enough, you would recognize that. And so, refereeing is one of the things that we're going to look at. We also want to look at how our schools are treating our kids in terms of socializing them to understand the importance of the competition and to focus not just on winning the trophy, but actually learning from the competition, building camaraderie with their opponents. Because for us as school leaders, it's a school competition. The organizers are principals. And so our focus is not just on winning a particular trophy, but getting our kids to benefit socially from their interactions in the competitions.
Yeah, you said one thing earlier about the refereeing part of it. When I went to the USA Cup in last year, I saw 15-year-old and 16-year-old actually being referees. So they were trained they get about 3-4 months courses, and they were equipped to do the competition. So I said that's a really good idea. So you have more referees available to do the competition. On another note, where the competition is concerned, and as I said, that you want it to be a better product and so forth. There's a lot of issues coming out surrounding you regards to other principals, question what's happening. What are some of the things going to be put in place so that these questions does not arrive next year?
All right, so I think, all right, so yes, there were a number of things that came out from, well, at least one member principal, and then there were other instances where persons questioned certain things. I think the truth is a lot of it has to do with a lack of education, lack of understanding, lack of knowledge of how our competitions run, how Issa operates, and I think that, as I said earlier too, that some of these were unwarranted. But if somebody speaks, then it is always worth listening to, and there's always something that there's always a reaction that you can give to either remedy the situation or to clear up the situation in terms of making sure that there's full understanding. I am, to be honest, from a personal point of view, I was a little bit disappointed when I hear some of the complaints being made, because it is not as if they were isolated situations specific to my school. And if you look at what has happened since as well, you would recognize that a lot of it didn't really make sense.
Yeah. I've had some conversation with Mr. Scott, and you have given me we have like a 1 hour conversation, and they've given me a broken down of many of the situation now. When I was uninformed as well, and you have enlightened me on a lot of situations, so I was really appreciative to it. But some of these information are not necessarily privy. Exactly, not privy.
And I think that is something that we have to improve on as
communication
an
part.
organ, the
Yeah.
communication, and not just communicating, but how we communicate and what we communicate. Sometimes we take some things for granted. We believe that persons know some things or they understand some things when they don't necessarily do so. For us, we run a competition where we play close to 700 games for the season, so it's a lot of work. And there's a lot of logistics involved, and not everybody, no matter how bright you are, if you don't understand, there are going to be hiccups, and there are going to be concepts and ideas that you don't necessarily understand or appreciate if you are not on the inside. Yeah. So it's a matter of, as I said, of communicating properly. I think really and truly, generally for Issa, we spend so much time trying to get our competitions actually done that we don't do enough to communicate, and that is something that if we work on it and get it better, we will be a better organization.
Yeah, because I personally think that once you communicate, people understand.
Yeah.
Because when people don't understand, misconception come into place, and ifs and whats, and I know a lot of speculations come into place. But as I said, communicating, and that conversation that I had with Mr. Scott enlightened me to so much stuff that I didn't know, and it just give me a broader knowledge of how the operations are run.
So part of what we asked you to do is to share some of that.
Yeah, yes.
I'm not sure if he spoke in confidence with you, but I'm sure there are things that you can use your platform to share.
Yeah, he spoke about some of it. Some of them that he said, you can share this stuff because these are things that it's just that we don't necessarily get up time to communicate it. So he really enlightened me on a lot of stuff, and I do communicate some of these stuff. And I spoke about even the games being pushed back, the reason for that, and those stuff. For example, like the hurricane now that caused so much issues with the fixtures. Would you say that you guys have been putting things in place now, like contingency plans, just in case? Because next year we might have all 3 hurricanes.
And I think one of the things that we may have to look at is whether or not the number of teams that we have participating in the period, the window that we have, if it's too many. We have to really look at that seriously, because you're talking about 80 Augusta Cup teams, 40 Manning Cup teams. We have to look at as to whether or not it's a manageable competition. And so the structure of the competition may be something that we have to look at in terms of how do you manage, how do you get the best out of these kids in a 3-month period without overworking them, taking into consideration the chance of us losing time because of rain and so on. So all of that are things that we have to look at. We have to continue to evolve as an organization, because things are changing so much. A lot of schools now are placing a lot more emphasis on the various sporting competitions. And so more and more schools want to play, but is it possible for us to have all of them play in one competition?
Yeah, that's a good concern, because but the truth is, I don't want, if I go to school and me can play hockey, I'm realizing because me is so far away and my school not go play, I would feel away as well. Yeah. They also don't want to exclude anyone as well. But how do you manage that?
We have to find a way. We will have to find the best way possible. I don't know what that is now, but I'm sure that we will have to find a way, because remember, Manning Augusta Cup started 100 plus years ago, and up to 40 years ago we probably had 20 Manning Cup teams and 35 Augusta Cup teams. we're
Jump to
almost
100
3
and a
times.
half
Yeah, and we have been using the same time period in terms of September to December. And before people get any ideas, it's difficult for schools to play football 6 or 7 months per year.
Yeah.
Because they have other activities to be engaged in, other sports, the resources are just not there. So that isn't even a viable option to extend the competition to 4 or 5 months. But we'll have to find a way to make sure that we make best use of the resources we have.
Yeah, because that's a big concern, because at this present moment, there's so much things to discuss on this matter. But we probably might not ever finish it now still. But thanks again. Yeah? We're not going to finish it now.
That's our show. That's our show by itself.
All right, so I'm going to bring you on. All right.